The stars looked cold outside the broken viewports of the Thray colony ship Hope's Dawn. Captain Vrick stood in the darkened bridge, his four slender hands gripping the railing as the emergency lights blinked weakly around him. The ship was silent except for the slow hiss of the life support system struggling to keep the crew alive. The Thray had been traveling to a new homeworld when the raiders came. Their attack had been fast, merciless. They had disabled the engines, stolen the food stores, and left the ship drifting far from any safe world. Vrix had done the only thing he could. He had sent a universal distress signal. The message carried the coordinates of the crippled ship and a simple request. Help us. We cannot survive. Now all he could do was wait. The crew of the Hope's Dawn sat in silence. They were a proud people, explorers and settlers, but now they felt small and helpless. Days passed with no reply. Supplies grew shorter. Hope began to die. Then the sensors beeped. "Captain," called Keln, the sensor officer. His voice was sharp with excitement. "A ship is approaching. It is not Coalition design." Vrix hurried to the console. The readings showed a small vessel, heavily armored, moving fast. It had an odd shape, thick plating, dark paint scorched from many battles. "Identify them," Vrix said. "No match in our database," Keln replied. "But energy readings show high power output. Weapon systems online." The crew stiffened. Was this another attack? Moments later, the strange ship slowed to a stop just outside visual range. A voice came over the communicator. It was firm, deep, and oddly warm. "This is Commander Ray Callahan of the Martian vessel Ironwind. We received your distress call. We're coming aboard." "Martian?" Vrix whispered. He knew the word. Martians were human, but not the soft humans of Earth. These were the ones who had chosen to live on Mars, a deadly planet with thin air, freezing nights, and raging dust storms. Across the galaxy, they were known as Deathworlders, survivors of a world that tried to kill them every single day. Some said they were dangerous. Others said they were unstoppable. Vrix hesitated, then gave the order. "Open the airlock. Let them board." The sound of boots echoed through the corridors as the Martian crew entered. There were 5 of them, all wearing practical armor that looked dented but strong. At the front was Commander Ray. She was tall, with short dark hair and sharp eyes that studied everything at once. Her face had a thin scar across one cheek, but she moved with calm confidence. "You're lucky we were close enough to hear your signal," Ray said, stepping onto the bridge. "You've taken a bad hit. We'll get you moving again." "You will help us?" Vrix asked carefully. "That's why we're here," Ray said simply. She turned to her crew. "Jax, Tori, check the engines. The rest of you, secure power lines and see if life support can be boosted." The Martians worked quickly. They spoke little, but every move they made was precise. Sparks flew as they reconnected power couplings. Strange tools hummed as they cut and welded broken panels. Vrix watched them with a mix of awe and fear. These humans were different from the quiet diplomats he had seen on Coalition broadcasts. These ones looked like they had seen war and had won. Hours passed. Slowly, lights came back online. The ship's systems reported partial power. The engines were still weak, but repairs were underway. "Your ship is tough, Jax," a broad-shouldered Martian engineer said with a grin. "But it's not tougher than us. We'll have it flying soon." The Thray crew began to relax, some even smiling for the first time since the attack. But the moment of relief did not last. The sensors began to beep again, a rapid, urgent sound. Keln checked the screen and his face turned pale. "Captain, it's incoming ships!" Multiple contacts. They matched the raider signatures. Vrix felt his heart sink. The raiders had returned. They must have tracked the distress signal. Commander Ray turned to the screen and studied the readings. Her expression did not change. "How long until they arrive?" she asked. 7 minutes, Keln said. Ray nodded. "Plenty of time." Vrix stared at her in disbelief. "You do not understand. These raiders are killers. They will finish what they started." Ray looked at him and gave a small, almost amused smile. "That's what they think," she said calmly. She tapped her communicator. "Martians to stations. Prepare for combat." "We're not running from this one." Her words carried a strange power. The Thray crew, who had been frozen with fear, suddenly felt a spark of hope. "What are you going to do?" Vrix asked. Ray's smile widened just slightly. "What we always do," she said. "Survive, and make sure no one else suffers the way we did." She pointed toward the bridge doors. "Captain, get your crew ready." This is going to be rough. Outside the window, the Martian ship detached from its docking clamps and moved into a defensive position, its weapons powered up, glowing bright against the darkness of space. The raider fleet appeared a moment later, their jagged ships racing in for the kill. The Thray crew held their breath. Ray's voice came over the communicator one last time before the battle began. "Strap in," she said. "This is what we're good at." And with that, the Martians opened fire. The first shot from the Martian ship cut through space like a beam of fire. It struck the lead raider craft, tearing one of its engines apart. The ship spun out of formation, crashing into its own ally. Inside the Hope's Dawn, the Thray crew watched in stunned silence. They had never seen anyone fight like this. "Direct hit," Jax's voice came over the communicator, calm as ever. "That should get their attention." "Good," Commander Ray replied. "Let's make them angry. The more reckless they get, the better." The raider ships turned toward the Martian vessel, weapons charging. The first wave of shots came fast, a storm of plasma fire. The Iron Wind spun and dove, its thick armor catching the few blasts that hit. "Your ship is very small," Keln said nervously. "It's small because it's fast," Ray replied, "and it's strong enough to take a punch." Vrix felt both fear and something else, respect. These humans were not running, not hiding. They were fighting back with everything they had. Then the next order came, and Vrix realized just how different the Martians were. "Prepare for boarding," Ray said. "Boarding?" Vrix repeated. "You mean—" "You will go to them." "That's right," Ray said, strapping on her helmet. "The best way to stop raiders is to take the fight right to their deck." Her crew moved like a single machine. They grabbed exosuits, magnet boots, and weapons that looked handmade but deadly. "Stay here and keep the lights on," Ray told Vrix before heading toward the airlock. "We'll clear the skies for you." Vrix wanted to protest, but something in her voice told him there was no changing her mind. Moments later, the Martian boarding pod launched into the void. It was a small armored tube that flew straight toward the nearest raider ship. The raiders opened fire, but the pod was too small and too fast. It slammed into the raider's hull, attached with magnetic clamps, and then blew open a hole. The Martians poured inside. Inside the raider ship, chaos erupted. Ray led her team down narrow corridors, weapons raised. The raiders were bigger, stronger, but the Martians were faster and smarter. Jax used a welding torch to seal doors behind them, trapping raider crews in locked sections. Tori hacked the ship's control systems, shutting down weapons one by one. "Bridge ahead," Ray said over the helmet comms. When they reached the bridge, a group of raiders tried to stand their ground. The Martians moved with perfect coordination, using cover and timing their shots. Within seconds, the raiders were disarmed and the bridge was theirs. Ray stepped forward and pressed a control on the console. "Your ship is ours now," she said simply. She turned on the internal speakers and gave an order in the raiders' own language: "Abandon ship. Escape pods only, now." The raiders, realizing they had lost, fled toward the pods. Back on the Hope's Dawn, Vrix watched as the captured raider ship powered down its weapons and began to drift. "They did it," Keln whispered. But Vrix noticed something else, a new reading on the sensors. "Captain," he said, his voice tight, "there are more incoming signals. Larger ships this time." Ray's voice came over the communicator a moment later. "Yeah, we see them too," she said. "Looks like their boss is coming to finish this personally." The largest raider ship dropped out of faster-than-light travel. It was massive, twice the size of the Iron Wind. Its dark hull bristled with weapons. For the first time, even Ray's voice grew serious. "All right, this will be tough," she said. "Jax, bring their ship online. We'll use it as a shield. Tori, prepare remote charges, Moment. If they want this ship back, they'll get it in pieces." The Martians worked quickly, turning the stolen ship into a weapon. They rigged explosives along the reactor core and programmed the navigation system to send it straight at the new flagship. Then they returned to their boarding pod and launched back toward the Iron Wind. The moment they were clear, Ray gave the order. The captured raider ship roared to life, engines flaring as it charged straight toward the dreadnought. The raider commander tried to fire, but the Martians had disabled too many of its systems. "Detonate," Ray said. The explosion lit up space like a small sun. The shockwave rocked the Hope's Dawn but left it intact. The dreadnought took heavy damage, but it was still coming. "They're angry now," Jax said. "Good," Ray replied. "Let them come closer." Her plan was simple. and terrifying. She sent the Iron Wind straight at the massive enemy ship. Vrix could hardly believe what he was seeing. They are going to crash into it. Keln shouted. No, Vrix said slowly, realizing the plan. They are going to go through it. The Martian vessel weaved through fire, dodging most shots, taking others on its heavy armor. It accelerated faster and faster, heading straight for the dreadnought's main hangar bay. Hold on, Ray shouted. The Iron Wind slammed through the hangar shield and skidded to a stop inside the massive enemy ship. Its hatches blew open and the Martians stormed out. Weapons ready. For the first time since the attack began, the Thray crew felt something new. Not fear, not hope, but admiration. These humans were not just helping them survive. They were teaching them how to fight back. The hangar bay of the dreadnought was filled with smoke and sparks. The Martians moved quickly, spreading out as enemy alarms blared through the ship. Commander Ray raised her hand and signaled her team forward. Straight to the bridge, she said over the comm. We end this now. The corridors were wide and full of enemy fighters, but the Martians fought like they had done this 100 times before. They stayed low, moved fast, and worked as a single unit. Each time a group of raiders tried to block their path, the Martians broke through with perfect timing. One covering fire, one advancing, one shutting down doors to cut off reinforcements. Vrix watched the live feed from the Hope's dawn. He had ordered his crew to monitor every Martian helmet camera. The Thray ship was too damaged to fight, but they could still see everything happening inside the enemy dreadnought. Keln whispered softly as they watched Ray kick a heavy door open. How are they so fearless? They are not fearless, Vrix said quietly. They are determined. The fight grew more intense as the Martians neared the bridge. The raiders were larger and better armed, but they could not stop the advance. Jax was in front now, his heavy armor taking most of the fire. Door sealed, he said, pointing at the final blast shield that protected the bridge. Tori stepped forward with a small device. Give me 30 seconds, she said. Ray crouched by the door, weapon ready. You have 20, she said. Tori smiled behind her visor. Then I'd better work faster. Sparks flew as she hacked the security lock. The door hissed open just as a group of raiders charged down the hall behind them. Jax turned and fired, holding them back while Ray and the others rushed onto the bridge. The raider warlord stood at the center of the room. He was tall and armored in black with a cruel grin on his face. You dare board my ship? He growled. Ray's voice was calm. You left innocent people to die. You should have expected this, the warlord charged, swinging a heavy weapon. Ray ducked under the blow and struck back with her rifle, using it as a club. The fight was fast and brutal, both of them trading blows while consoles sparked around them. At the same time, Tori hacked the control systems, shutting down the dreadnought's engines and weapons. Jax kept the bridge doors sealed, holding back reinforcements. Finally, Ray drove the warlord back against the captain's chair. It's over, she said. But instead of surrendering, the warlord laughed. You will die with me. He slammed a clawed hand down on the self-destruct control. The dreadnought's alarm screamed. A timer appeared on the console. 5 minutes until detonation. Not today, Ray said. She grabbed the warlord's wrist and forced him down. With a quick strike, she knocked him unconscious. Tori! She shouted. Already working on it, Tori said. Her fingers flew across the console. I can't stop the explosion, but I can redirect the overload. Do it, Ray said. Within moments, Tori rerouted the reactor overload to the ship's rear section. The detonation would still destroy half the dreadnought, but the bridge would have time to escape. Done, Tori said. Then we leave, Ray ordered. The Martians dragged the unconscious warlord with them as they ran back to the hangar. Every second felt longer than the last. Bulkheads trembled as explosions began to shake the ship. When they reached the hangar, the Iron Wind was waiting with its ramp lowered. The Martians leapt aboard, strapped in, and launched away just as the dreadnought's rear section erupted in a blinding explosion. The shockwave hit them hard, but their ship held together. The great dreadnought broke apart behind them, pieces spinning into the void. On the Hope's dawn, cheers filled the bridge. The Thray had watched the entire thing. They did it, Keln shouted. They destroyed the dreadnought, another crew member said. Vrix felt his heart's pound with pride. Not just pride in surviving, but pride in fighting back. For the first time, the Thray crew saw that survival was not just about waiting for rescue. Sometimes it was about standing up. Moments later, the Iron Wind docked again. Ray stepped onto the bridge of the Hope's Dawn, helmet under her arm. "Your skies are clear," she said simply. "You're safe now." Vrix bowed his head. "You saved us. You saved all of us. We owe you our lives." Ray shook her head. "You owe us nothing. Just remember this. When someone comes for you again, you don't have to wait for rescue. You can fight back." Her words struck deep in every Thray heart. "What will you do with the warlord?" Vrix asked. Ray gave a small, humorless smile. "Deliver him to the Coalition. Let them decide what happens to him." The Martians finished repairing the Thray engines before they finally undocked. As the Iron Wind prepared to leave, Vrix sent a final message across the comm. "When the galaxy hears our story, they will know who saved us," he said. "They will know that when we called for help, the Deathworlders of Mars answered." Ray gave a short nod, then turned to her pilot. "Set course for the next signal," she said. The Martian ship vanished into faster-than-light travel, leaving only silence behind, and a ship full of Thray who now saw the universe differently. For the first time since their long journey began, Vrix felt truly ready for the future. The Deathworlders had shown them the way,